Finished the test day at Manfeild. Walking around the circuit at the moment because I had to find this, which broke off. Found it pretty quickly, but this is what Manfeild Front Straight looks like. But the day itself was a fantastic day. Started with lap times of 107, then dropped down to a 105.5, and then 105, and then 104.6, and I haven't looked at the last session, but it was pretty much the same, mid 104s. I added some preload in the front for the last session because I thought that it needed it, but it was one step too far. But the car's handling amazingly, and I just need to drive it better. I've had to change how I drive quite a bit with all the changes that I've made to it, but it's me that needs to improve, not the car. So I'll roll to some video. So I've had a bit of time to go through all the data and footage and whatnot now that I've got back home and unpacked the car into the garage. Figured I'd do a bit more of a technical speak, because if you've watched this far you're probably semi-interested in maybe a bit more about what the car's about. So for that last test day I tried a different rear anti-roll bar, a thicker one. The reason being was because I was feeling like the car wasn't rotating enough mid-corner. And also the one that I had, which is a 0.8 inch, is on the small side if you read any of the spec sheets. This is a 1.125 versus 0.8, and I ended up going for a 1 inch, which is between these two sizes. So what I did find was that made the car rotate way better in the mid corner, and that translates to confidence into going into a corner and coming out, pointing the right direction. What else have I done? So I mentioned in the start of the video, or when I was sort of reflecting on the day that I added too much front preload. That is true in one sense, but in another, the problem I'm trying to solve is the front dropping under brakes. Not so much of an issue at Hampton Downs where it's really flat, but at Manfeild where it's quite bumpy, it was catching the bumps under brakes, and that's what the little sparks are going into turn one. The reason it was maybe also another issue is I had to add a little bit of front and rear wing to get some balance, aero balance through splash, which is the fast left-hander to the right-hander. You notice it was a little bit twitchy on the right-hander, where I have to just correct. I don't have to lift the throttle though, so it's completely controllable. Which I use the anti-roll bar adjuster just to dial it in perfectly. But the problem I'm trying to solve is that front diving down. I have gone 100 pounds heavier on the spring since 2 track days ago, and I'll go another 100 pounds again, and then reduce the preload slightly so it's a little bit more compliant, and so it doesn't go as low under brakes. So this is really just fine tuning to get the car sort of doing what it should. But I'm not wrong at the start of the video. There's a lot more for me as a driver to gain out of the car than as an engineer. But yeah, just figured to show you. So I did the anti-roll bars. I'm going to change the springs for next time at Hampton, and that's pretty much the only change. In the back of my mind, I did put smaller side plates on, which I found created way less drag, but I have had to add quite a bit of wing angle to get the rear wing doing what I want. So there is a chance I could put the bigger side plates back on and then run less wing angle for the same amount of aero, but it might be a little bit more efficient because the side plates are bigger. But at the same time, I think the original side plates are actually too big and they overwork the wing, so it's inefficient. But without wind tunnel testing, I can't prove that, but that's just my gut feeling. So yeah, I made some changes to the wings. I did the anti-roll bar. I'm going to change the spring, but on the whole, the car is great, and I look forward to Hampton Downs at the end of March. But until then, that's all.